Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. That's All Ages Media Programming, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tastiest selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever had as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. Gotta like that, folks. All right. Welcome in, everybody, listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody watching on television, thanks for joining us. Everybody streaming on pick your favorite social media platform as well. Thanks for joining us, especially on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. So how about this one? We have a very interesting situation where, yes, a retired football jersey number for the New York Football Giants is being unretired for a rookie who has never played a snap in the National Football League? What kind of garbage is that? I have no idea even what to think about that, besides that's complete and utter lunacy as I see it. Never understood it, never will understand it, but here it is. Malik Neighbors, yes, Malik Neighbors gets to wear number 1 after the Giants unretire the Hall of Famer Ray Flaherty's number. That's unbelievable. Yes, and the boos will continue. Now, if you don't know who Ray is, you can do a quick search and find out like everybody else and anybody else. And look, this guy had a tremendous track record. Tremendous. Let's think about this. When you think of the idea of a Hall of Famer, you say, all right, they have done something very special. As a player, yes, way back in 1926 for the Los Angeles Wildcats. Imagine that. And he was an end. New York Yankees. Yes, a player for the New York Yankees, 1927, 1928. That New York Giants, 1929 and 1931 to 1935. Born on a farm near Lamont in eastern Washington, Flaherty grew up in Spokane. He ended up going to Gonzaga, multi-sport athlete. That's the guy. He played baseball, football, and on we go. As a freshman, Flaherty attended Washington State College in Pullman, then transferred to Gonzaga. Before his sophomore year, Flaherty competed on the Gonzaga Bulldog track and field team, the baseball team, the basketball team, and also the football team. Yeah, that's the guy. So Flaherty began his professional career way back in the time machine 98 years ago with the Los Angeles Wildcats of the American Football League, a team of Western players based in Illinois. And it played all of its games on the road. Yes, in its only season, which ended with a postseason barnstorming tour through the South against league rival New York Yankees. Imagine that. Flaherty then played in the National Football League for 8 seasons. First with the Yankees, 1927 to 1928, with Red Grange. There's a great name. until the franchise folded following the 28th season. He joined the New York Football Giants from 1929 through 1935, except for 1930, where he returned to Spokane as the head coach of his alma mater, Gonzaga. And he also coached the Bulldog basketball team for a season, 1930-1931. At the end of the 1935 season, Flaherty's jersey number 1 was taken out of circulation, thus making Flaherty the first professional football player to ever have his number retired. However, the powers that be and all the other crap that comes with it, in 2024, wide receiver Malik Neighbors, with not only one snap in a regular season game in the National Football League, conveniently gets to wear this legendary number 1 from the New York Football Giants. Maybe it's an SEC thing. I don't know. Malik Neighbors coming from LSU. I don't know. I mean, look. At the age of 26, Flaherty played a season of minor league baseball also. In 1930, as a second baseman with the Providence Grays of the Eastern League. I mean, look, he was a head coach as well. This guy did a lot. Even after football, after the end of the AAFC in 1949, Flaherty returned to Spokane area to enter private business as a beverage distributor, which a lot of football players did that. And I know quite a few of those guys, pre-93 collective bargaining guys, they had to go out and earn some money. They weren't throwing millions and millions and millions of dollars just to sign a contract without any track record. No, these guys actually had jobs in the off season. They weren't paid hardly any money to play professional sports, period. So, now you have the privileged players from today's time. They conveniently get to get crazy amounts of money for signings. They obviously now get numbers unretired from football players that have earned it. And by the way, in case you're keeping score, yes, we'll go back to Mr. Flaherty, Ray Flaherty, but you could call him Raymond Paul Flaherty, born in 1903, died in 1994. This guy is an NFL champion, because they didn't have Super Bowl back then, a 7-time first-team All-Pro, also a third-team All-Pro in another season, NFL receptions leader, NFL receiving yards leader, NFL receiving touchdowns leader. Yes, 2-time NFL champion. That's right. This guy, he did a lot. And he earned that retired number of number 1. Why are we talking about it? Because we can. For Malik Neighbors to wear the number 1 after the Giants unretire the number, in my opinion, is a complete and utter embarrassment to the National Football League, and it's a privilege issue as I see it. So, of course, the Giants did announce that Neighbors had received permission. Of course he did. What's the family going to say? No? To don the number that hadn't been used since 1935. And the number was the first to be retired, as I mentioned, in professional football history. Did this kid earn it? Malik Neighbors, did he earn it? In my opinion, absolutely not. And he had previously worn number 9 in training camp. What was wrong with that? But that number is also used by veteran kicker Graham Gano. Who gives a damn? Bro, you're on the team and you're making money. Who cares? It's stupid. And, of course, he has to put out a statement saying, well, thank you to the Flaherty family for allowing me to wear number 1 for the New York Giants. I understand the responsibility, and I will do everything in my power to honor the Flaherty family and this organization. I'll wear the number with great pride. Can't wait for the season to start. He hadn't even played one snap in the National Football League. And the Giants bent. I mean, what are the Giants going to do next? Are they going to give him $1 million per minute that he plays? I don't know. I mean, usually when you see a player pressing for a number that isn't available, it's usually the case of the number having worn that person for their entire life or having special connection to the number. That isn't the case with Neighbors, though, as he wore number 8 in college. What the hell does it have to do with number 1 and having that being retired? Is it because he was a first-round draft pick? Is that it? Is this just a gigantic ego play? I don't know. It is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense whatsoever. He even wore number 13 when he was in high school. Neither of those numbers were available for Neighbors on the Giants, though. as his quarterback Daniel Jones wears a number 8, while fellow wideout Jalen Hyatt has the number 13. In fact, the only number under 20 not already in use or retired by the Giants are the number 12 and number 18. So what's wrong with those? What's wrong with those? Why does he have to go lobby to get a number 1? That is pure ego, in my opinion. It is an abomination. I don't understand it. I mean, look, with the numbers 80s out of vogue for wide receivers, that apparently wouldn't do either. Oh, no. So now it's not the work ethic. It's the number that they wear. It's the name on the back of their jersey. It certainly isn't the name on the front of the jersey. And that's where all of this has gone wrong. Seriously. And even the Flaherty family didn't want to approve Neighbors for the number change anyway. And of course, they were pressured. And Neighbors told the Giants website that after seeing his limited options, he didn't want to pay a teammate for a number. Why couldn't he just take one that was already available? So he approached the Giants owner, John Mara, about the actual retired number. And he said, quote, "Everybody else's number was really taken. I don't feel like buying someone else's number. I looked into retired jerseys and number 1 stood out. So I asked John Mara about it. He was like, we could give it a shot. So we gave it a shot," close quote. Come on. And of course, Mara reportedly pushed back on the idea initially. Come on. And according to Flaherty's son, Ray Flaherty Jr., it took a while even to get the entire family on board. Frankly, I don't blame them. Why the hell would you give a retired number for a superstar, Hall of Famer, first number ever retired, to a kid that's never played a game in the National Football League? That's a bunch of BS as I see it. Back here with more of that in just a few minutes on The Circus. We're fired up over here. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. Big welcome back to everybody listening in on our affiliates, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcoming everybody else on our independents up and down the West Coast, all the way over to Chicago, down to Dallas, Denver, all points in between. Big hello to our friends over in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD. That's 12:30 a.m. on the Atlanta Braves Radio Network, WDJY 99.1 FM, and that's over in Atlanta, by the way. And all of our other affiliates up going from Miami, up the East Coast, up to Maine. We have them all over the place. And also, welcome into everybody on television, on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, WOW Cable Television, affiliates in select markets, Hotel TV, in all Nielsen-rated markets, and, of course, on Facebook. And a little bit fired up from the last segment on Malik Neighbors getting a retired number one, the very first one, in fact, from professional football, from the New York Football Giants. How that even happens, I don't even know. But it gets even worse with this whole college, let's pay somebody, let's do this, let's do that. This is crazy. The whole idea of college sports and even high school sports have been compromised because it's money, 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 money. Show me the money! And it's getting disgusting. So, how about this one? Oh, you'll love this one. If you like the last one, you're really going to like this one. If you didn't like it, then you're really not going to like this one. And this one comes from, yes, Ohio State. Oh, yeah. And they say, want to play college sport? A wealthy family helps. Athletic talent isn't all that's needed to succeed, a study finds. Oh, yeah. This is from the Ohio State News. So, imagine this. This is what they say. It takes more than athletic talent to play varsity sports in college. At least for most young people, a new study suggests. Researchers found that U.S. high school athletes were much more likely to play sports in college if they came from higher income families with well-educated parents and attended wealthier schools. About 14% of the 10th grade students whose families were in the top 20% in terms of socioeconomic status played sports in college, compared to fewer than 4% of those in the bottom 20% of socioeconomic status. So, Ohio State says among those who became 12th grade athletes in high school, a marked difference still remaining. 23% of the most privileged students played college sports compared to 9% of the least privileged played college sports. The result contradicts the traditional story of how sports often helps underprivileged kids succeed in American society. So this was by a guy by the name of James Thompson, co-author of the study, and the graduate student. He is a graduate student in sociology at the Ohio State University. Because they always say the Ohio State, as if there's more than one Ohio State University. Which one is it? Is it really necessary? Anyway, Thompson said, quote, the idea of sports as a true, he says, quote, a privileged background helps students succeed in sports just as it does in other parts of life, close quote. Well, maybe so. That's kind of a slanted statement. So Thompson conducted the study with another associate professor of sociology at the same school, and their research was published a few years ago in the Sociology of Sports journal. Most sports fans can rattle off the names of stars and professional athletes who have had great success despite coming from impoverished backgrounds. I think we can all do that to a degree, can't we? It sure seems that way. So let's think about the idea that they say most sports fans can rattle off those names, yet he said, quote, "These are heartwarming stories and are not representative of the vast majority of college athletes, nor are they indicative of who is able to make it to the highest levels of sports typically," close quote. Well, no kidding. I think we all know that one. Come on, man. That's not very insightful, Mr. Thompson. Anyway, continuing on, Ohio State says, "This is the first study to comprehensively look at the factors from family situations to high school experiences to school conditions that impact the likelihood of individual high school students becoming college athletes." Wow, this to me is just a big steaming pile of you-know-what. Nonetheless, it comes from Ohio State. The researchers used the Education Longevity Longitudinal Study, a nationally represented data set from the National Center for Educational Statistics. Researchers used data on 7,810 students, just over half of whom reportedly played sports in 10th grade in 2002. And the ELS conducted follow-up surveys in 2004, 2006, 2012. In 2006, the survey says participants were asked whether they were participating in college varsity athletics. And the survey also collected information on each student's family socioeconomic status in 10th grade, which was based on family income, parents' education, and occupations. Information on the schools and the participants attended was also available. So, overall, about 8% of the students indicated that they played varsity sports in college when they were surveyed in 2006. The fact that students from the most privileged backgrounds were more than 3 times as likely to be college athletes as those from the most disadvantaged background. No surprise, the researcher said. It is in line with previous research that found poorer youths don't have access to the same athletic and academic resources as their more fortunate peers. So, Thompson said, quote, "Students whose families can afford private training, who can enroll in private club sports, have a big advantage over students whose families can't provide for their children," close quote. Well, that's not very insightful. I think that's sort of common sense, isn't it? And students from wealthier families have academic advantages that make them more likely to be able to attend college, including greater expectations that they will continue their education. Finding shows that students attending financially poorer schools were also less likely to play college sports, independent of their family situation. Now, this is a very, very slanted, it's a remarkably slanted article by Ohio State News, as I see it. One reason is that, they say, more wealthy students provide better academic preparation, but they also have better athletic facilities and tend to offer more opportunities in sports such as lacrosse, I'm not really sure how that one got in there, that aren't available to other schools. So, they go on to say, quote, "Students from wealthier families on average are given more academic and athletic resources, have higher expectations of going to college, and are more likely to be expected to go to college by others, and are situated in a more optimal school environment, all of which make it more likely they will go on to play sports in college," close quote. That is a ridiculous statement that deserves a round of boos. It's unbelievable. Talk about a slanted, waspy statement. That's a bunch of garbage. All of this doesn't mean, they say, that the athletic ability and merit of the high school doesn't matter. Results showed clearly that athletic merit was a strong predictor of participating in collegiate sports. Well, no kidding. No kidding. I'm not really sure how insightful that is, but they continue on with, quote, "But even at equal levels of athletic merit, those students from more advantaged backgrounds are more likely, yes, more likely, to become college athletes. Socioeconomic status matters, close quote. This is driving me crazy. Sports are often viewed as particularly important way for black people and other minorities to achieve success, he noted. Yes, that's the writer of this whole thing from Ohio State. You got a bone to pick? Pick it with Ohio State and the propaganda that they put out there. And of course, they say most of the examples of black athletes rising from poverty to become sports stars come from football and basketball sports, which only a small proportion of the college athletes play. In addition, most college athletes compete outside of top divisions that attract most of the attention of the media and sports fans. Quote, there will be individual cases of athletes rising from poverty to become successful sports stars, but they are tiny minority, close quote. Oh, by the way, they also say, quote, wealth and privilege are an important part to succeeding in sports just as they are in parts of society, close quote. This whole thing is so slanted. This university pays top dollar to do what? To win championships or to attempt to win championships. Where is the integrity in winning? Where is the teamwork? Oh, the teamwork comes in capital raising, paying players, paying people to pay others to play sports. And what they're saying is, we don't care if you have a decent upbringing or a bad upbringing, just because you're of a particular socioeconomic class, that you're automatically disadvantaged and you're not going to have the ability to play. That's a bunch of crap. I don't care what color, creed, race, wherever you're from, everybody has the same opportunities. What do you put forth on the field, on the ice, on the court? That's what you're going to get out of it. Back in a few. Don't go anywhere. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. That's All Ages Media Programming Television, AAMP Television. Of course, this segment, sorry folks, a little distraction here. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Yes! All right, welcome back to everybody on TV and radio. You know who you are. Pick your favorite network or independent. Even on Facebook, Chicago Food Favorites. Check that out, folks. Talk about your favorite foods. Your favorite restaurants, doesn't matter whether they're in this city or that city, doesn't matter. Just participate, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. I'm the administrator. So listen, if you put stupid stuff out there, I'll go ahead and flag you. And whatever you do, please don't ever call pizza za. That has to be the worst thing for any bona fide pizzeria or whatnot. Nobody will ever call it za. That is absolute ridiculousness. Don't ever do that. Seriously, folks. Anyway, back to the circus as we have a weird silence. And you know why we had a weird silence? I'll tell you why. Because we actually had a sound effect that did not play. So it was that one. So we'll give them a round of applause. Listen, folks, it's live. Anything could happen here on the circus. All right. Now, sticking with this whole idea of college football and these name, image, and likeness monies and all this other crap and whatever, you know, we think about some of the factors in this whole college football chaotic marketplace, so to say. And now you can actually look at these familiar faces as a quarterback being moved to a different place. And this whole quarterback transfer idea is taking over college football. This whole transfer portal thing. I mean, look, I'm okay with people moving from one school to another on their own, whatever. But if it's for academics, that's one thing. If it's for athletics and if it's for money, that's something else. So, of course, you know, we think about the idea, you know, of Rutgers kicking off the season with a transfer quarterback. And, well, that's where our story begins with this particular individual, whatever, the man they call the Greek Rifle, right? So, I mean, look, this guy transferred from Minnesota, which also opened the season on the same day as Rutgers, with a transfer quarterback from the FCS level, a guy by the name of Max Brosmer, in a game against North Carolina, who will start a transfer quarterback as well as from Texas A&M. And Texas A&M, yes, it kicks off the season hosting Notre Dame, which starts a transfer quarterback from Duke. And Duke will open the season with a transfer quarterback from Texas. This whole thing is complete and utter lunacy. Seriously. Are you keeping up with this? I mean, I'm having a hard time with it. There's a hell of a lot more where that came from. Get this. Texas starts a quarterback, Quint Ewers, who originally started his career at Ohio State. And wouldn't you know it, Ohio State starts a quarterback, Will Howard, who last played at Kansas State. Kansas State, shockingly enough, won't start a transfer quarterback, but you know who will? Both teams playing in Gainesville, Florida, when Miami and Florida meet. How do you like that? Miami's Cam Ward came from Washington State, who is really no longer at a Power 5, and I can kind of understand that one. And Florida's Graham Mertz came from Wisconsin, which itself opens the season against, well, another formidable opponent. So the reality is you'll never guess a transfer starting quarterback from, yes, Miami. And so the whole thing is maddening. And this is the idea of the case of, is the grass greener on the other side? And you can look at it in any way, shape, or form you want. But I think a lot of these kids, when it comes to pay at this point, which that's another discussion, which I'm not happy about, is it going to be a better opportunity to play here or there, or here or there, or here? Okay, so let's go ahead and go there. Oh, well, it didn't work out for me here, so I'm going to go ahead and transfer somewhere else. So by the time this college football quarterback maybe is a fifth-year senior, or in some cases a seventh-year senior or a seventh-year player, we'll say, as we saw recently. In fact, that was I think a show from a day or two ago. Nonetheless, you've got a kid that's going into the National Football League potentially, or the Canadian Football League, or wherever they're going to go, who has already played for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different colleges. So get ready to have a life as a journeyman, hopefully in the NFL, because that's the kind of quarterback that they're going to probably end up being in the first place. But if they're getting NFL pay, I guess that's all that matters, right? So in all, 43 transfer quarterbacks are projected to start among the 68 power conference teams. That's 63%. That is perhaps the most glaring sign yet of the transient era of college football. 30 of those 43 projected transfer starters are in their first year at their new school. Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very big deal, but people don't look at it as a big deal. Hey, is there any education going on here? Anyway, unusual, if not downright rare, years ago, such a leap, team rookies starting at quarterback, is often now the norm when a quarterback starter at one power conference moves to another. So apparently, if you could start at one, you're good enough to start at another. I guess that's how it goes. What about the coaching? Does the coaching have anything to say about that? I think the money does at this point. Just like in professional football or professional sports. We have to play this guy because he's paid $50 million a year. Just because you're paid $1 million a year, we're going to sit you because we have 50 times the investment in him. Even though he's terrible, we're forced to play him by the financial powers that be. That is how I view this, and I think a lot of other people view this too. So think about this. There are first-year transfers starting quarterbacks at many conference champion favorites and expected CFP contenders like Ohio State, Oregon, Notre Dame, and Miami. Those 4 players, well, from those particular schools, are believed to be among the highest paid in college football on top of it. Come on, man. This is crazy. That's the argument I just said, but on the college level. Oh, yeah. Each having entered name, image, and likeness contracts, paying them high 6 figures and even into the 7-figure range, according to those with knowledge of the market. That's right. So the high rate of quarterback movement isn't rooted in only playing time. It's rooted in money, as I just stated. And of course, Russell White, the president of the Collective Association, a group of more than 30 name, image, and likeness collectives from various schools across the country, stated, quote, I would say if you are trying to get a starting quarterback with Power 4 experience to transfer, you are in the $1.5 million range, close quote. That's ridiculous. This is what college sports has come to, folks, and even high school as well. So what are we talking about? Are they going to be a little bit more open and honest like we're seeing in the NFL about game fixing as I see it? We see a whole lot of questionable calls. And conveniently, as the casinos are involved, just like right here in Las Vegas, as they're involved, we see, in our opinion, collectively, many of the viewers, many of the bettors and so forth, people that like to bet on sports games, what do they see? Cheating in plain sight. Cheating, bad calls, things you're like, how the heck did that happen? Here's a phantom pass interference call. Here's a phantom neutral zone infraction call. There's a phantom running into the kicker call and all this other garbage. And then you see questionable calls from coaches, just like we saw in the NFC Championship game. How does Dan Campbell not go up by 3 scores on the road in San Francisco, which is exactly what you're supposed to do, rather than going for it on 4th down? The reality is, if you go up by 3 scores in the 3rd quarter on the road, if you had that opportunity, number one, you have to go up by 3 scores, period, on the road, let alone later in the game in the second half. So as I see it, that game was absolutely fixed. How many of these college football games are fixed? Why? Because we have payments going left, right, and center to these transfer students and to these other they're not even students, to these paid professionals. Because once you're paid, you lose your amateur standing. You are no longer an amateur if you are paid to play a sport. That's right. You are now a mercenary. You're a hired gun, so to say. So where does amateur athletics draw the line from professional athletics? It just happens that these professional athletes, who are now paid as this particular person from this collective association, a group of more than 30 NIL collectives from various schools across the country, of course, headed up by Ohio State. The reality is, these kids are no longer student athletes. They are simply paid professionals. And that's how that one works, folks. Like it or not, it's all about show me the money and I'll show you something on the field. The whole thing is a complete embarrassment to the institutions that actually have some kind of sports. And frankly, at this point, if you want a good education, you almost have to go to a school that doesn't have any sports whatsoever. That's how this one is starting to pan out, folks. And I'm an academic recruiter. This drives me crazy. Back here in a few minutes on the circus, and we're fired up over here. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal here in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world, at the Sports Circus Studios. That's from AMP TV All Ages Media Programming Television. Big thanks for everybody tuning in on all of our affiliates, whether TV or radio or streaming. By the way, folks, this segment brought to you in part by the Sports Circus. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, and of course, all of those are on pick your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Amazon, Apple, Audible, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, Stitcher, you name it, we're there. You can't get away from us. And lots of great upcoming guests coming up, in the next couple of weeks or so. Make sure you check those out. And we've had so many really good guests. You know, we've done a couple of thousand of these shows for the last 7+ years, almost 8 years now. Lots of fun. And sometimes we get really fired up. And I have to tell you, this transfer portal, big name, image, and likeness thing really is a problem with a lot of our listeners and viewers. They asked to expand upon it. So here we are. We're going to expand a little bit more on this. In fact, during that break, we just got 7 requests to continue on with the discussion. So we're going to continue on with it. And this was an article that I was covering, talking about this transfer portal specifically for quarterbacks. So we're going to carry on. It says the 7-figure sticker price is reserved for only the most valuable transfer quarterbacks in the cycle, says the CEO and co-founder of Student Athletes NIL, an organization that manages more than 50 collectives across the nation. This is the payouts from the boosters, folks, in case you don't know. The average NIL cost for a transfer quarterback this past year was $350,000 per him, Jason Belzer. Yeah, imagine that. If there's a guy to make a phone call to, and that's your complaint department, contact this guy because he is the CEO and co-founder. Gee, I wonder what he makes out of that. Fewer than 10 quarterbacks cracked the $1 million mark, according to him. But that's still a lot of money. And he says, quote, quarterback is the most valued of any position, close quote. You think? Anyway, that's especially the case if the quarterback has starting experience at a power conference school. 6 of the 43 projected starters that's this week, have power conference experience at 2 schools. That's right. Max Johnson at North Carolina came from Texas A&M and LSU. Tyler Shaw at Louisville has experience from Texas Tech and Oregon. And DJ Wegalili at Florida State has experience from Oregon State and Clemson. Oh yeah, the beat goes on. One quarterback even has experience at a 3rd school. Cal's quarterback Chandler Rogers is on his 4th different FBS university. 4th. That's crazy. He went to North Texas for the Mean Green, University of Louisiana Monroe, and Southern Miss, the Golden Eagles. Listen, of the 68 power conference schools, 63% are projected to start at quarterback this year. They have already transferred. 43 is the number of transfer starting quarterbacks. 30 is the number of first year at their new school. 8 on at least their third school. 4.7 is the average years in college. 13 is the number of most transfer starting quarterbacks. Of course, ACC and Big Ten, 13. And 8 is the number of least transfer starting quarterbacks at the SEC. I wonder why. Maybe it's because, they probably pay the most money. I think that's what it is. Anyway, it's a transient quarterback world at this point, except for a few notable Week 1 exceptions. For instance, arguably the two biggest games, LSU and USC, right here in fabulous Las Vegas, and Georgia and Clemson in Atlanta, feature 0 transfer starting quarterbacks. The rarely unfolds right here in Las Vegas that each starting quarterback, Miller Moss at USC and Garrett Nussmeier at LSU, have been on the roster for 3 years with a single start. So they're just waiting for their turn. All right, good for them. But patience, the virtue still does exist. Nussmeier, rumored to be the portal-bound quarterback in 2023, never transferred. Why? He points to his deep faith. Quote, God brought me to LSU for a reason, close quote. And he said over the summer. And what about Moss? He, an anomaly at USC, and among his peers across the college landscape, when many of his teammates left upon hiring head coach Lincoln Riley, he stayed. When Riley brought his quarterback from Oklahoma, Caleb Williams, he stayed. Why leave? Moss asked. Quote, I love this place, close quote. All right, good for him. So while Moss waited his turn, virtually every other highly rated quarterback from his signing class transferred from their original school. 8 of the top 10 quarterbacks in 2021 class entered the portal at some point during their career, and that includes his predecessor at USC. So Williams' transfer, in fact, set off one of those quarterback transfer domino effects. Now, Oklahoma replaced him with Gabriel from University of Central Florida, which landed KJ Jefferson this year from Arkansas, which in turn picked up Taylor Green from Boise State, which in turn, it turns out, signed Nelson from USC. It all, I guess, comes full circle at some point. I don't really know. But anyway, just because it has become the norm, first-year transfer starting quarterbacks, doesn't mean it's easy. Just ask Blake Shapen, who spent the past 4 years at Baylor before transferring to Mississippi State this offseason. He'll play at a new school in a new conference for a new coach. Well, maybe it took him a few years to get off the schneid, but guess what? First on his to-do list in arriving at Starkville, hang with the boys. So he's going to have to do a little bit of bonding. And he says, quote, hanging outside of the facility is a big deal. And you have to build these relationships before the season. You can't just go on the field and play with somebody you really don't know. So hanging out, doing regular things like regular dudes do, and just building those relationships, close quote, is important. Baylor, in fact, is one of the 3 schools that have the most former quarterbacks starting this season at a school. The Bears, Texas, Texas Tech, and they each have 3 former quarterbacks starting somewhere else. 3 of those 9 quarterbacks are 7th-year players. 7th year, imagine that. And 4th year, and a 4th in his 6th year. Okay, so you've got a 7th-year player in college? Yeah, that's what they say, well, like, I don't know, someone says they're on the 10-year plan in college or something. Not really sure what that means anymore, but obviously it's rather lucrative for college football players. This is crazy. And of course, they're spread out as far as Utah and all the way out to Virginia. So you probably don't even remember Oklahoma State's quarterback Alan Bowman's days as a Red Raider, but it happened before, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, for the most part, these quarterback transfers are deeper in their 20s more than college athletes. In fact, the average starting quarterback transfer this season has spent 4.7 years in college. They're 23, 24, 25 years of age, and some even 26 years of age. They are long in the tooth, yes, but also well padded in the wallet too, which of course comes back to show me the money. And the highest deal this year for a quarterback that we saw was $1.2 million according to Belzer. That's that collective, whatever, that NIL deal guy. Anyway, experts wonder how or if the quarterback market will change starting next July when schools are permitted to share a certain amount of revenue directly with the athletes. According to the House antitrust settlement, schools can begin sharing as much as $22 million annually with all of their athletes, not just football. So yeah, do you really think the field hockey team is going to see any of that? Doubtful. Currently, quarterbacks are reaping the benefit of an unregulated, uncapped pay system through the booster-led NIL collectives. It's the Wild West, folks. Will schools distribute money in a way that decreases quarterback salaries? Absolutely not, in my opinion. And matter of fact, White said, quote, "I'm fascinated to see how each school decides to share the revenue. We assume they'll focus on basketball and football, but position by position, how will that work? Flat amount, by position, tiered system? I think they'll take care of their valuable players, quarterback, running backs, receivers, edge rushers," close quote, which of course deserves an astounding round of boos. What about the linemen? If it wasn't for the linemen, the quarterbacks wouldn't be able to do crap. Anyway, most schools are expected to distribute revenue similarly to how plaintiffs' attorneys in the House case plan to disperse nearly $2.8 billion in back damages owed to former athletes from the settlement. Another conundrum. Anyway, that formula roughly 75% football, 15% to men's basketball, 10% to all other sports. Yeah, is that fair? 10% to all other sports? What's tennis going to see? What's gymnastics going to see? What's track and field going to see? What's the chess team going to see? That's right. Despite that, several SEC head coaches told Yahoo Sports recently that they expect to have between 12 to 17 million at their disposal for their football teams, or about 70 to 80% of the actual allotments. And of course, Belzer, that's that guy with the 50 NIL whatevers, quote, he says, quote, "The reality is if we move to a $16 to $17 million payroll at the top end, are you going to want to spend 10% on your budget on one guy? I don't see the money going down. We know the average collective is going to deploy $5 million. SEC collectives are in the range of 10 to 12 million, close quote." That's right. That's the good old SEC. And then there's Ohio State, which is at $20 million. Athletic director Ross Bjork told the media last month. And of course, schools are still expected to lean on collectives to generate outside third-party NIL deals for athletes. Any outside deals, if they are deemed authentic and genuine, do not count against a school's rev share cap, allowing programs to circumvent the numbers. Oh, basically to continue to cheat is really what it comes down to. And what about the player movement? Many administrators believe that the contract schools strike with athletes in order to share revenues, which then could limit transfer movement. Many school officials are in the midst of deep discussions over featuring buyout provisions in these contracts. And of course, the same CEO says, quote, "If the players leave just like the coach, they'll have to pay buyouts," close quote. Either way, the money train for quarterbacks is expected to continue, and so too is the transient nature of the profession itself, just like the coaches. This whole thing stinks. Absolutely stinks. And there are a bunch of different ways to look at it. You say, well, they're entitled to make money. Absolutely they are. But when the institutions get involved, and these are institutions for higher learning and for education, when they essentially sell their souls and say, we're no longer an academic institution, we're now a football and basketball institution. And we've seen the compromising of certain universities in that way. And in my opinion, Notre Dame is one of those who had really good academics at one point. Now they're just good academics. I believe the University of Michigan has sort of followed the same path, had really good academics, and now are falling upon just good academics. So the lesson learned here, folks, stick to the building blocks of an economy. Education is the building block and the cornerstone of many, many economies. Stick to it. It'll treat you right. Research and development is where most of the money is made, especially at Duke University. Football, basketball only comprise of a very, very small percentage of the university's actual revenues. Look at the annual report and you'll be able to see that for yourself. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's show, folks. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you on your favorite station in about 23 hours. Until then, thanks for listening, and so long, everyone.
Your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.